Ladies and gentlemen of the media, we're joined now by Virginia Cavaliers head coach Tony Bennett. Coach Bennett is ready for your questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand, and we'll send a microphone in your direction. Let's start to the right section on the right of the aisle. Okay, to the left of the aisle. Name and media outlet, please, and then your question.
Caroline Darney, SB Nation. Coach, you've been a very international field of your roster. A lot of countries represented. This is the first time that Italy's had a player in the Final Four, that Argentina, I'm thinking Guinea, I need to do the research. But what does it mean to have that type of diversity in the locker room, and what does that bring to your squad?
Yeah, I think Virginia has so many different countries represented in the school body, but it's great. And I think guys learn so much how to interact with each other from different cultures. You learn to appreciate and respect one another, and I think that's really good for our team and these young men after they're done with it. So I didn't realize that about Italy and Argentina. You sure about that? That's amazing. Our guy told you that? You better fact check that one.
Coach, to the right side of the aisle.
Jess Myers with Forum News. Coach, Brad Soderberg coached in a Frozen Four alongside your dad. What kind of impact does he bring to your team? And somewhat related, was he your best wrestling coach in elementary school?
I know what you're going at. To have a person who's been a head coach on your coaching staff, I think is invaluable because they've been in that spot, and a lot of times they'll say, hey, either here's what worked for me or learn from my mistakes when I was in those spots. And Brad is so humble, and he's so good. He did a great job when he took over from my father at Wisconsin. He did a great job wherever he coached, and he's salt of the earth. Great guy. And what you're referring to is, as my wrestling coach when I was in, I can't remember, 7th or 8th grade, he was playing for my father at Stevens Point, Wisconsin, and his student teaching was to come and teach our 7th grade Phi Ed class, and his part was teaching us wrestling. So, and his first thing is he said, you have to come up with a name, like an all-star wrestling name for the class. So I think I was Tony Superfly Snuka. So if anybody remembers Jimmy Superfly Snuka, and then our SID also was in that class, and there's a story there. So Brad, I thought he was clever to say, all right, that's how he got us interested, but he was my wrestling teacher for Phi Ed in 7th grade.
Second row up front on the right side, Coach.
David Teal with the Daily Press. Tony, how many times on video have you watched the final sequence of regulation? Was it at all planned, and do you still marvel at how many things had to happen?
Yeah, I marvel at it. Probably 3 times I've watched it, and 2 years ago, I don't know if you were covering our game against Louisville, that was so improbable. Maybe in a way more improbable how it ended, but given the circumstances and what was on the line, it was unreal for the presence of mind of Mamadi and Kihei. Mamadi to tap it, Kihei to chase it down to make that pass. The situation was, there was 5.9 seconds when Ty went to the free throw line, and obviously I didn't instruct him to miss it, but I say, all right, if he misses it, try to tap it, just tap it out of there. I put someone in at the scorer's table, so if Ty makes that second free throw, we're going to try to obviously trap, get a steal, and make a play, or foul right away, and then they'll be at the line, and you could have 4.5 seconds to still run a play. So I was trying to stay in the moment. But, Ty kind of looked at the bench, and I didn't say miss it because I thought there was enough time if he made it. So I wish I could say that is how we practiced it. That's exactly how it played out. Now, if he misses it, that was there. But what Kihei did, his instincts, and then Mamadi to not drop it, yeah, I'm still in awe of that. And it was such a high-level game. And Purdue played so well. And, I feel for Matt and those guys. But, you had to make that play the way Carson Edwards was playing and obviously the way that setting was.
Up front on the left side, Adam.
Hey, Tony. Adam Zagoria, how you doing?
Good.
There's no, one-and-done players here. Duke and Kentucky are gone, but there's still some very good college players and future pros and guys like DeAndre and Jarrett Culver. I guess, what does it say about them and their ability to kind of, come back as sophomores and get better, and also just the general state of the one-and-done situation that none of those players are here?
I mean, I think that's what's the beauty of college basketball is there's so many different ways to build a program, and there's so many different styles and systems of play. And I love that about the game. It's pure. You don't have to say, well, this is a cookie-cutter way to do it. So, our formula has always been what I observed when my father coached at Wisconsin, when we went to Washington State, And, you know, how can you build a program that can compete against the best in your conference? And it was get guys experience, get them to where they have 2 or 3 years where they learn and they maybe learn the hard way. And then when they're upperclassmen, they're ready to play against the best. And that's kind of what we've stuck to at Virginia. I think that fits Virginia. It's getting harder and harder to do that in today's atmosphere, today's, you know, the college basketball, but it has been effective for us. So again, but if guys are talented enough and can go after a year, if that's how coaches do it, that's, again, the beauty of, I think, college athletics.
Just with DeAndre, how much have you seen him progress?
DeAndre has improved so much, I think, and he's scratching the surface. You know, he redshirted his first year. Malcolm Brogdon redshirted for us. It was through an injury. And then DeAndre had he even started out slow in his first year playing, and then he just really took off, and he's just gotten better and better. And I think that's why we're in this spot, because our guys, they have improved collectively and individually, and then obviously they responded to what happened last year.
If you have one follow-up, just signal. We'll send the microphone to you. Second row on the left side.
Paul Woody, Richmond Times-Dispatch. Hello, Tony. With London Parantes and now Kihei, you've got 2 point guards from Southern California.
Yep.
So do you have a pipeline to Southern California point guards? And 2 things about Kihei. What made you think a 5'9" guy could excel in the ACC? And what did he show you immediately when he got there? Because your program is tough to adjust to, but he started almost from the beginning and has been a substantial contributor from the beginning.
Well, what I love about London and Kihei is they weren't really highly touted. A lot of our guys weren't, but they were good. Good basketball knows no. It doesn't matter what stars they have or not. Joe Harris, I can go through the list. The second part about Kihei was you wanted to know. Oh, 5'9". Yeah, okay, that one I can answer. I played with Muggsy Bogues. I was Muggsy Bogues' backup in the NBA, and when you see someone who has it and has that kind of heart and determination, that sold me. It's not like I'm a giant myself. You know, I say 6 feet. My wife and I argue. She says you're 5'11" and a half, but if you can play, you can play. And so many people get caught up in dimensions, and there is value and importance in that. But toughness, quickness, feel, savvy, those things are there. And you know, we were fortunate. You know, when he decommitted from UC Davis, I called Jim Les, Coach Les, and said, "Hey, am I seeing this right? You know, I think he can play." And he said, "Yes." I mean, Jim played in the NBA too, and it was, a lot of people probably doubted a lot of the guys that we've taken, but those guys have shined very brightly. So I think those experiences helped.
Coach, we're going to the center of the room.
Hey, Tony. Mike Barber, Richmond Times-Dispatch. You had mentioned, I think, back in Columbia or Charlotte, seeing Ty and Kyle together at the NBA 100 camp. They were on the same team.
Yep.
I'm curious, their relationship on and off the court, how strong is it, and how has their chemistry on the court developed in the time you've been coaching them?
Yeah, no, they're very close, and their feel for the game, they're smart and they're resilient. I think that really is a marker of this team, how resilient and tough-minded they are. But those are skilled, smart players, and they know how to play the game. And again, they've improved. Their athleticism has improved. So I think those two are such a catalyst for our program. Probably it was 2 years ago. We were playing Florida in the second round of the NCAA tournament, and they were just beating the brakes off of us. I mean, it was 3 minutes left, and I put Ty and Kyle in. The game was over. They're dominant, and they're at the scorer's table. And I'm going to remind them of this. I went and I knelt down next to him, and I said, "Take this and remember this." I said, we got to take the next steps. Then last year when we got beat by UMBC, I said, "You two are coming up to the podium." And I said, 2 reasons why. We're going to honor our 2 seniors in Devin Hall and Isaiah Wilkins. I don't want them to be up there. I said, we're going to go up there, and it's going to be one of the hardest things you're ever going to have to do, how you're feeling and what you're going to have to respond to. I said, but it's going to mark your life. And I said, and it's going to be something that we're going to try to overcome. And, so really from that moment to now, it's been trying to be as intentional as a program, as a team, to respond to what transpired there. And so, and it's really nice that we're here, and it's still about the game and trying to be as good as we can and advance. But those things are important. So yeah, they're bonded together as we are for for life that way.
Mike, you had a quick follow?
Yeah, real quick. Ty also said that after that UMBC game, 3 or 4 days later, you went to lunch with him and talked about spreading the offense and doing some things differently. Why did you have that meeting, and what was that conversation about?
Well, that was such a, from a basketball standpoint, that was such a pivotal moment and devastating in so many ways and humbling that I knew we had to be there for each other in ways that we never would have had that not happened. So it was about sitting together, talking, and just working through stuff and battling through it and trusting each other. And as I said, that situation made me take a look at a lot of things. I said there's no way I would have gotten this close to my team in that way. It drew me closer to my family, to my faith. Those situations put you in that. But also, okay, what can we do to be better in certain situations as a team? You think differently. So through any hard adversity, there's such wisdom in it. But yeah, we talked about those things. But it was, those first few months with those guys, it was just, we're going to keep going through it. But everything was intentional about trying to respond in that, from pretty much that moment after that game all the way through the summer, through the fall, through what we do, and approaching it.
Just a reminder for all of our attendees, unfortunately, we can't allow any video recording here in the main interview room. That includes with your cell phone. Left side of the room, Gene.
Hey, Tony. Gene Wong, Washington Post. With the many, many ways Dre can affect a game, are you maybe inclined to overlook it if he's not scoring as much as you would like in like the last couple games, and do you kind of anticipate an uptick in points maybe for him this weekend?
Well, he certainly impacts the game with his defense and everything he does. What he did in the end of the game against Purdue, he made 2 big free throws, and then he made a real nice drive, and it went off of his knee or it went out of bounds. But then right after that, he made, well, we say the game winner, but at least where he put us ahead. And so he made some difficult plays at difficult times, and he's guarded hard, and his shot wasn't going in like it was in the way he was playing. So part of this is him growing and learning, but we're going to need everybody at our best to continue on in this tournament. But as I say, all good players, they have to be defined by more than just if the ball is going to the basket. They have to impact the game on the glass, defensively, making plays, and that's what I always challenge him to do.
Coach on the right side, left of the aisle, Zach.
Zach Braziller, New York Post. Tony, do you remember, take me back, Ty, when you first saw Ty in Kansas City? He didn't really have a lot of big offers. What was it about him that made you think, we want this guy? Because it was a pretty quick recruitment.
It was actually before that. I saw him when he was younger. It was in Pennsylvania. And I was watching someone else, and he was playing in that game, and he wasn't near as big and all that. And I kept saying, man, he's really good. But in my mind, I'm like, but no, he's not moving that well. I don't know, but man, he's really good. Then I think his team must have advanced in that tournament. This was in the spring of his, I guess, sophomore year, going into his junior year, somewhere in there. I saw him play one more time, and I'm like, he's really good. So then I went back to my staff. The spring recruiting period was done, and I said, we need to just at least check on this guy. Ty Jerome, I don't think anybody's probably recruiting him, but I loved him. But I don't know. And, that was it. So then in the summer, I go to watch another player that we were very high on. I kind of forgot about Ty. That's, my staff should have kept, no, just kidding. But I forgot about him. In the summer, I go watch another player. Just so happens Ty is playing that team. I wasn't going there to see Ty. And he played like Ty played. And I told my staff, I'm locking into this young man. There's something there. I think he's got a chance. And then I just bulldogged him and followed him, and he just kept making a believer out of me more and more. And then I actually followed him to Kansas City. I think I was one of the only head coaches there, and I just knew it. When you see it, you know it. And I knew it. And he overcame, he's gotten quicker and all that, but it's not many were taking a chance on him. But then after he had committed to us, then a lot of people would have liked him because he kept improving. Same with Kyle and all those guys.
Coach, front row, left side.
Rob Doster, NBC Sports. You guys have kind of gone away from running just your block remover stuff, and you're running more ball screen continuity. I'm just curious, what's the genesis of that, and where did you get the ball screen offense that you run from?
Yeah, again, you always you look at what are the strengths of your team, what you can do. He's like a little brother to me, a guy named Kirk Penny. He played for my dad at Wisconsin, played at Tel Aviv Maccabi, played at New Zealand, all over in Europe. And I think some of the European coaches, they're so good. they learn how to create things. And Kirk and I have talked a lot, and I said, in all your experiences, have you run any stuff that opens the court more and maybe can do some things? And he said, yeah, I really liked this kind of offense. And, he took some of it back to New Zealand. And other teams run this. It's not like it's just there. But we started talking about it, and I studied some other offenses. I said, this can be really a good complement to some of the things we're doing at times and fit the personnel. So we went to work on that. And, again, some other things. And we added some things we had done in the past. Again, it's all personnel-based, but that's kind of the genesis of it.
Up front to the right, David.
Tony, much is made of you being a coach's son, but
Yep.
you are also a coach's brother. Understand that Kathy used to put you through some pretty rigorous
yes.
workouts in the
Yes.
Stevens Point practice gym.
Yep.
What was that like growing up with
Yeah.
her and that basketball part of your relationship?
She is the most intense competitor and the most driven, and I would not have become the player I was if it weren't for her. I could not beat her in one-on-one, and I was pretty good until I was 16 years old. And she was that good. Before she tore her ACL, she was USA. She was kind of being primed to probably play on the Olympic team and all that. And then once I beat her, we never played again. That was it. But she would drag me with her at 5 in the morning. In the summer, before she had a job, we'd ride our bikes to the gym. We'd open the gym, and I'd rebound for her. And, if I didn't throw her good passes, she'd chew me out. And I saw this work ethic in her, and I would just tag around. And I got good playing against her and her friends all the way up, until 14, 15 years old. But watching her and seeing her drive and love for the game had a huge impact on me as a player. And then, certainly watching her coach. So, major.
We're going to go to the back right with Myron and Reed if you still have one, and then we're going to come up front and finish up.
Tony, obviously a lot of stars in your team, but what's the value of some of your walk-ons, both in practice and how you all are able to compete?
Yeah, huge, because your practice group they have to bring it. They're so important in your preparation and their character and how they lift you up. But I've been blessed that way to have all those years, but they're significant in our program, and we challenge them. And if you want to get our staff mad or get me mad, disrespect one of our walk-ons. I tell that guy, because those guys are such a part of. They're the true servants on our team. They do all the stuff and don't get much of the credit, and that's why I love this team. Our managers, our walk-ons, we're all part of it. There's not any differentiation, and I love that about them. But I can't say enough for those guys. And usually it's your walk-ons, your managers who end up going on to be coaches, or they're going to be the CEOs because they learn how to serve without the attention. And I love their heart, and they're part of something, and they represent our program in the best way possible.
Same area, Reed.
Reed Forgrave, CBS Sports HQ. After you guys had lost to Syracuse a few years ago, you said on the podium, you quoted from Psalms, joy will come in the morning, I believe.
Yep.
Which really stuck with me. And I'm curious, what is this spiritual lesson that you learned from this UMBC game and that you imparted on your players over the past year? And how did it change you spiritually?
Yeah, there's a scripture verse that says, always be prepared to give a reason for the hope that you have, but do it with gentleness and respect. And everybody is at a different place with what they believe and where they're at. But when you're put in a spot like that, and there's a lot worse things, it makes you rely upon what matters. I said, what's unconditional in your life. And that's, for me, my relationship with my wife, my parents, my kids is everything. But the greatest joy that I know is my relationship with the Lord. And again, everyone's different that way. But again, sometimes when you get knocked down in a way, you find out how real that is. And there's a perspective in it and a peace that is not really of the man-made stuff we're talking about. So I'm just so thankful for that. But again, I respect everyone. That's the hope that I have, but you have to do that with gentleness and respect. And everybody processes things differently. And I so want our young men in our program to honor the right things. I want these young guys to learn about the joy of family, the joy of what will matter in their life. And sports is one of the greatest classrooms that I can think of. And adversity is maybe the greatest teacher, even though it's not enjoyable. And again, that's what I'm saying.
Up front to the left, Paul.
Tony, Paul Woody, again, Richmond Times-Dispatch. I need to finish up on Kihei. your system is difficult for freshmen to grasp, defense as well as offense. So what did he show you quickly that he could handle it, and that he could start, and that he could be a significant contributor?
I think every system is tough for freshmen or first years to come in and play at this level. It's faster, it's more intense. But like London and Kihei, their feel for the game comes from an excellent high school system, an AAU system. His father knows the game, so he understood it at a young age, how to play. Your eyes tell you that when you watch players, and they just impact the game in different ways, whether it's scoring or not. His ability to put pressure on the ball and defend. The quickness of Auburn is maybe the best we've seen, so our ability, and you guys need a guy who can hopefully keep these guys in front and work the ball. That was something we hadn't had. And so he brought that, and then obviously the things I just mentioned.
Final question, front and center.
Yeah, Chris Thomas in St. Paul Pioneer Press. Question about Mamadi. Since his big shot, I mean, how famous has this guy become, and how many more people know about him? Does the platinum hair dye help? And then just a comment generally on how you feel he's played in this tournament.
He's been terrific. I don't watch a lot of TV. I'm so in my bubble doing this, so I'm sure he's the toast of the town in so many ways. But his play, that shot was amazing, and it'll go down, the pass and the shot, in Virginia basketball history. But his play he's always, from the start of the year, I said he's an X factor for us. And the way he's played all tournament has been significant. As far as the hair, I mean, if it's like Samson, and he's got to do it, so be it. But it looks better in person, I said, than on TV. I see when I watch video. But he's a guy, if you're around him, he's got incredible joy. He's got an infectious personality. It's just, he's great that way. So I couldn't be happier for him. And I talk about all those guys, be grateful for this, but keep your edge to compete, because it's about being ready and prepared. And, be thankful, be humble, but you better have an edge to play well against Auburn on Saturday.
We want to thank Coach Bennett for joining us for these 20 minutes. Coach, we'll see you tomorrow.